Welcome to Read Pulse. Today, we're diving into one of the most transformative self-help books, The Courage to be Disliked by Ichiro Kishimi and Fumite Koga. This book is inspired by the teachings of Alfred Adler, an Austrian psychologist, and it challenges many traditional ideas about happiness, relationships, and personal growth. Through a Socratic dialogue between a philosopher and a young man, the authors provide profound insights into how to free yourself from societal pressures, let go of past traumas, and embrace a fulfilling life. Ichiro Kishimi is a renowned Japanese philosopher and Adlerian psychology expert. His co-author, Fumite Koga, is a professional writer who skillfully adapted Kishimi's philosophical insights into an engaging narrative. Together, they bring Adler's century-old teachings to life in a way that resonates with modern readers. Let's understand whole book concepts by a story. In the heart of a sprawling, vibrant city was a young woman named Maya. From the outside, her life seemed perfect: a stable job, a loving family, and a small circle of close friends. But deep down, Maya felt trapped. She worked in a high-rise office, managing data for a large corporation. Her days started early and ended late, with little time in between to pursue what she truly loved: art. Every morning, Maya would take the crowded metro, her sketchbook clutched tightly in her bag. The sketchbook was her escape. During lunch breaks or rare quiet moments, she would lose herself in drawing. Her art was filled with colors and fantastical worlds that starkly contrasted with her gray, monotonous reality. Despite her passion, Maya couldn't shake the feeling of dread that accompanied her dreams. Her family had high expectations. They valued stability and were proud of her secure job. Pursuing art seemed impractical, even foolish. Society's voice echoed the same sentiment: security over passion, conformity over dreams. One evening, after yet another exhausting day at work, Maya decided to take a different route home. She wandered through narrow alleys she had never explored before, drawn by the flicker of curiosity. As she turned a corner, she stumbled upon a quaint, forgotten bookstore. The sign above read, "The Philosopher's Haven." Intrigued, Maya stepped inside. The air was thick with the scent of aged paper and ink. Shelves teemed with dusty old books, and there, behind an ancient wooden counter, sat an old man with a kind, wise expression. His presence felt almost magical, as if he belonged to another era. "Welcome, young lady," the old man greeted, his voice gentle and warm. Maya smiled shyly. "Hello, I'm just looking around. This place is enchanting. Every book here has a story to tell," he replied. "But it's not just the books that hold wisdom." He paused, studying her with thoughtful eyes. "I sense you have a story too. You seem burdened." His words struck a chord within Maya. She felt the weight of her unfulfilled dreams and the pressure of expectations. "I do feel burdened," she admitted softly. "I love to draw, but it feels impossible to pursue it." The old man nodded, as if he understood completely. "Why do you let others' opinions dictate your happiness?" he asked gently, sparking a profound realization in her. Maya was taken aback by the simplicity yet depth of his question. "I guess I'm afraid of being judged," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. The philosopher smiled. "Let me tell you a story," he began, and with that, Maya's journey of self-discovery started. The old man shared tales and thought experiments that challenged her beliefs, slowly helping her to see the world, and herself, differently. In their next meeting, the philosopher decided to talk about something deep and meaningful: the burden of approval. He narrated the tale of a young musician named Ravi. Ravi's lifeline was his guitar, and every note he played came straight from his soul. But the constant need for approval from his peers was stifling his creativity. He played what he thought would be liked rather than what he truly felt. One day, a chance encounter with an old street performer enlightened Ravi. The street performer played with such passion and joy, utterly uninhibited by the crowd's feedback. Ravi asked him, "Do you ever worry about what people think?" The street performer laughed heartily and replied, "Son, if you spend your time worrying about pleasing everyone, you'll end up pleasing no one, especially not yourself." This simple doctrine had a profound impact on Ravi, teaching him that true freedom and creative expression come when we stop seeking validation from others. Maya listened, captivated, as the philosopher concluded Ravi's story. It resonated with her. She reflected deeply on her own fears of judgment and the weight of others' expectations. The realization began to dawn. Seeking approval was indeed a heavy burden she no longer wished to carry. Maya couldn't wait for their next meeting. The philosopher didn't disappoint. This time, he spoke of the concept, letting go of the past. He narrated the story of a young athlete named Priya who had been a rising star in gymnastics. However, a devastating fall during a major competition left her scarred, both physically and mentally. She could not shake off the memory of her failure. But an insightful coach helped Priya see that her past mistakes did not define her. It was her present actions and choices that truly mattered. The coach taught her to focus on the now and make the most of each moment, helping her to overcome her fears and rediscover her love for gymnastics. Priya went on to become not only a successful athlete, but also an inspiring coach for other young gymnasts. These stories made a deep impact on Maya. She started to ponder her own life, her childhood experiences, and how they had shaped her fears. She realized that while her past had influenced her, it did not have to dictate her future. She had the power to redefine herself. Each visit to the philosopher's haven was a step closer to her true self. In one such session, he introduced her to the idea of the separation of tasks. Looking at her kindly, he said, "Maya, imagine a gardener. The gardener can plant seeds, water them, and provide them with sunlight, but he cannot control if the flowers bloom. That's nature's task." Maya mulled over this analogy and understood its wisdom. She could control her actions, but not the outcome. This lesson encouraged her to focus on her responsibilities and to let go of the fear and anxiety about things she couldn't control. One fine evening, Maya encountered the final lesson from the philosopher, the courage to be disliked. He spoke to her genuinely. "Living authentically is not easy, Maya. It requires immense courage to be yourself, especially when it means standing against others' expectations." With a newfound sense of freedom and purpose, Maya made a bold decision to quit her unfulfilling job and start her own art studio. The transition wasn't without its challenges. She faced criticism, skepticism, and even moments of self-doubt. But she remembered the philosopher's words and stories, and they became her guiding light. Maya's art studio soon became a sanctuary for herself and others. She found happiness not just in her creative expression, but also in inspiring others to follow their passions. Her journey of self-discovery and courage bore fruit, not only in her own life, but also in her community. The philosopher's bookstore continued to be a place of wisdom and solace for Maya. Even as she blossomed into the artist and individual she was always meant to be. Over the following weeks, Maya's visits to the philosopher's haven became more frequent. Each meeting left her feeling lighter and more purposeful. Driven by the philosopher's teachings, she began making small changes in her life. Step by step, she decluttered her apartment, making space not just for her art supplies, but also for newfound freedom in her mind. She started saying no to gatherings and obligations that drained her energy, instead choosing moments that brought her joy. The simple act of prioritizing her well-being gave her an unexpected sense of empowerment. During one of their sessions, the philosopher shared an ancient parable about a sculptor. The sculptor had a massive block of marble blanketed with rough edges. Day in and day out, he chiseled away at the marble, removing excess and revealing the magnificent statue within. The philosopher likened Maya's journey to the sculptor's process. Each small change removes an extra weight, he explained. It brings you closer to your true self. Maya marveled at this metaphor. She realized that her own process of letting go of societal pressures and the burdens of others' expectations was quietly chiseling away at her constraints, revealing her authentic self. Her sketchbook, once filled with sporadic fragments of creativity squeezed into stolen moments, now began to overflow with vibrant illustrations. But it wasn't long before Maya encountered a major turning point, leaving her job. The philosopher had already introduced her to the core lesson of the courage to be disliked. Yet, applying it in reality felt monumental. Quitting work meant stepping into the unknown, facing disapproval, and battling her inner doubts. One morning, she stood before her office building, looking up at the towering glass structure. It epitomized both security and confinement. The decision was terrifying, but she knew the time had come. In a moment that combined fear and exhilaration, Maya handed in her resignation letter. The aftermath was mixed. Her family was concerned and confused. Friends and colleagues questioned her decision. Yet, Maya felt an undeniable sense of relief and freedom. This act symbolized the ultimate separation of tasks. Her responsibility was pursuing her passion. Others' reactions were beyond her control. The philosopher's haven became her sanctuary. Every conversation with the old man felt like a lighthouse guiding her through uncharted waters. She shared this life-altering step with him, and he nodded in approval, a gleam of pride in his eyes. "Remember, Maya," he said, "bravery and authenticity walk hand in hand. It is not for the faint-hearted, but this path leads to true fulfillment." Emboldened by his words, Maya embarked on her new life chapter. She rented a modest space on the edge of the city, a small studio with large windows that bathed her art in natural light. Naming her studio Maya's Haven, she opened it to the public. The initial days were filled with anticipation and excitement. She poured her heart into creating a welcoming environment, a place where creativity flourished and anyone could discover the joy of art. She hosted free workshops for kids, collaborated with local artists, and gradually built a supportive community. Challenges were inevitable. Financial instability was a constant worry. There were days when no one visited the studio, and Maya doubted her choices. During such times, the philosopher's words echoed in her mind, encouraging her to persevere. Gradually, her dedication began to pay off. Parents brought their children to Maya's art classes, hoping to spark creativity in them. Local artists found a home in her studio, contributing to a growing collection of diverse and vibrant works. Word spread, and soon, Maya's Haven became a celebrated creative hub in the city. One quiet afternoon, Maya found herself deep in thought, reflecting on her journey. The philosopher had taught her invaluable lessons: burden of approval, letting go of the past, separation of tasks, courage to be disliked. Each lesson was a milestone in her transformation. As she looked around her flourishing studio, she realized her journey of self-discovery was ongoing. Her experiences and courage now inspired others to take similar leaps of faith. Maya's life had come full circle, from feeling trapped and unfulfilled in a bustling city to carving out a haven for herself and others. Her heart swelled with gratitude and joy, recognizing the profound impact of the philosopher's wisdom. The ancient bookstore, the philosopher's haven, remained a beacon of light, reminding her of the power of stories, faith, and the courage to live authentically. The main concepts of this book: 1. Happiness is a choice. Adlerian psychology teaches that happiness is not something you find, it's something you choose. This involves letting go of the belief that your circumstances control your emotions. For instance, if you're stuck in a job you dislike, ask yourself, what steps can I take today to improve my situation? 2. life is not a competition. Many of us measure success by comparing ourselves to others, but Adler argues that life isn't a race. Imagine running on a track alone. Your only competitor is your previous self. The philosopher advises focusing on your unique path rather than being consumed by envy or rivalry. 3. The courage to be disliked. The central idea of the book is that living authentically often means facing disapproval. For example, choosing a career or lifestyle that aligns with your values might upset others, but it's essential for personal freedom. The young man learns that courage is required to prioritize self-respect over external validation. 4. Separation of tasks. One of the book's most practical tools is the separation of tasks. It teaches us to focus on what we can control and let go of what isn't ours to manage. For instance, while preparing a presentation, your task is to deliver it effectively. How the audience reacts is not your responsibility. 5. Contributing to the community. True happiness, Adler suggests, comes from contributing to the greater good. This doesn't mean sacrificing yourself, but finding ways to add value. Whether it's mentoring someone at work or volunteering, contributing fosters a sense of purpose. In the last but not least, the courage to be disliked challenges conventional thinking about happiness and relationships. Its lessons encourage us to let go of the past, focus on what we can control, live authentically even if it means being disliked, find purpose by contributing to others. Adopting these principles requires courage, but the reward is a life of freedom and fulfillment. As you reflect on this summary, think about one area in your life where you can start applying these ideas today. Thank you for tuning in to Read Pulse. We hope this summary of the courage to be disliked has inspired you to take steps toward a more authentic and fulfilling life. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more insightful book summaries. Until next time, keep reading, keep growing, and remember, you have the courage to be yourself.
Get the pulse of progress with Read Pulse.